Hi, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Okay, awesome. Hi, so I'll just kind of get straight to the evidence. Thanks for debating me, Michael. It's nice to finally meet you. And after seeing all your debate challenges online. So the topic is that after death, there must be some form of life or consciousness. And there are many streams of evidence for this, but I believe that the evidence itself is conclusive. So, um, yeah, after presented with what we know about death and all the issues surrounding it, there has to be evidence. There has to be life or consciousness. So here's a few forms of evidence. Obviously, I'm a Christian. I believe in the resurrection of Jesus Christ. To me, that's the most powerful and conclusive evidence because I see the biblical authority as more weighty than anything. Although I don't expect most of my I don't expect you, Michael, to agree with that. So I'm going to, although I wish you would agree with it, and I do believe it is the most powerful evidence because the facts do support that Jesus was resurrected from the dead after 3 days, um, and therefore proving that he must have been conscious after death as well. So to get to some more kind of recent evidence, I'd like to bring up near-death experiences. In short, near-death experiences, 4 to 15% of the population claims to have had one. Some near-death experiences are labeled near-death experiences even when they haven't been clinically dead. But I'm going to talk about the ones that have been clinically dead. So your brain and your heart are flatlined, and this is when people claim to be conscious during the time where they are clinically dead. And the only difference between clinical death and biological death is that the person has been clinical dead so long that you cannot resuscitate them, whereas that's biological death. But clinical death, the person is still dead. Their heart, their brain are done. There's no activity. But during clinical death, people claim to see or have experiences. Now, what makes these experiences forceful and that we cannot deny them, we literally can't explain them away in terms of chemical things that happen at the point of death or hallucinations or anything of that sort. The doctors have kind of rebutted all those of ideas. But what is the clincher here is something called veridical perception. And this is when patients that are dead, they can point out things that happen in the room and even outside of the room, things that there's no way they could have perceived if they were in any way alive or conscious. So they were dead and conscious.
Okay. Well, I think the nub of it is something that you said in your early remarks there, that you're a Christian and you believe in what you believe, and I respect that. But I have to say that it is a belief. It is not proven fact. And I'm one of those people who feels that what is asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. So, I don't really see how it disproves you, really. I mean, let's not forget that the title of this debate is that which you chose, which is there must be life after death, not you haven't put there could be, because if you said there could be, I would agree with you, because nobody actually knows. The things that you're describing that people say that they've seen, I don't not believe that people have seen these things and experienced these things when they're in a case of flatlining, as you describe. But I don't hold that they are actually dead people. That they, I would say that there is actually a clinical explanation for that. I mean, a friend of mine had a heart attack and he passed out, etc., etc. He was unconscious, his heart stopped, and he said he doesn't remember a single thing. It was just complete blackness. Other people may experience other things. Yeah, what are dreams, for that matter? You know, could it be some sort of association with that? So, you know, I still haven't got evidence. I mean, you know, you've quoted sort of biblical evidence, but of course that's not evidence, really. You know, that's the scriptures, and people believe, you know, that Jesus Christ rose from the dead, but you know, I don't know, did he do much after that? Did he go and do stuff? Strange how he disappeared again, if he did resurrect. I'm a great believer in coincidences and a great believer in people's ability to embellish things and you know, make things sound great.
Hi, so yeah, like I said, the evidence, if you can provide any other explanation for this evidence which I will present, then I will agree you have a case, but you did not address any of the evidence that I cited. So I'll get deeper into that evidence. There was an AWARE study done over 15 hospitals in the United States, United Kingdom, and Austria. It was published in the University of New York studies called Resuscitation. But anyways, they monitored people and they discovered that people do have veridical perception. And this means that people are experiencing things while they are dead or clinically dead. Their brain has zero activity, their heart has zero activity, and they are claiming to be conscious. And what makes this satisfying in terms of scientific evidence is that they see things that they should not be able to see. So for example, one person, his name was let me get to his name. A 57-year-old man was floating up to he described himself floating up to a corner of a room, seeing medical staff work on him, watching himself be defibrillated. And Dr. Parnia, he published this. He said that the details actually checked out, and after triangulating the patient's description with the workings of the defibrillator, the researchers concluded that he has to have been alive or he had to have been watching for at least 3 minutes after his heart stopped. So can you provide any evidence that explains this? If not, you must concede that there must be some form of life or consciousness after death because the person was dead and it was recorded conscious. There's other cases, such as the cases of a lady named Maria, and this was published with the Institute of Near-Death Studies. I can't remember, it's IANDS. And Maria said that she floated outside her room and saw a tennis shoe out on the wall outside of her hospital bed when she was dead. And the social worker that she was describing this to, her name, I can get it for you after, her name was Kimberly something. She went and verified the facts that this was also true as well. So this is evidence, this is hard evidence that you can't deny. And unless you can explain it in some other terms of chemical reactions, which people have not been able to explain, then you must concede there is consciousness or life after death or while a person is dead. So I would love to hear your thoughts on the evidence that I've stated, and if you can provide any
well, I have to. It's not really incumbent upon me to provide contrary evidence to your case. You know, you are making the case that there must be consciousness. You know, you're citing experiences that people are relating. You know, I mean, that wouldn't be admissible in court if somebody said, well, you know, I saw somebody fly off a roof, and you know, like they used to in in medieval days, that oh, I saw that woman, she was dancing with Satan, and the her black cat, well, she was flying on a black cat and all that sort of thing. So it's not, that's not admissible as evidence. I mean, you sort of cite specific cases where people say they've seen this, they've seen that, they've seen the other. Well, two things. I mean, first of all, I'm a great believer in coincidences, and these I won't call them experiments because they weren't experiments, but these happenings, unless you can tell me that they were done under scientific conditions, then I'm afraid I can't accept those. So, it's not for me to say, the reason why she said this is because X, Y, Z. No, I don't have to prove a negative. I merely have to, not accept your explanation that, you are adamant. You say there must be. With respect, I feel that your own belief in Christianity may be influencing, this sort of hard opinion about it. I mean, if you believe, I mean, that's great, and I mean, I respect people's beliefs, and if they want to believe these things, then that's great. But I'm afraid I don't believe it. You've said, I've written down here, you said hard evidence, and again I say that's not hard evidence. That's merely somebody saying something. I mean, people say that they've seen aliens. I think there's a lot more people say they've seen aliens than in America, apparently.
Yeah, again, this is like, according to the definition of hard evidence, this is hard evidence. When a university publishes a study and they recount findings of their study, there was 15 hospitals that took place in this study, and they recorded, like the case that I cited, a person who, and there's an actual term for this, and I think that your worldview, you seem to come from a naturalistic worldview where apparently everything that cannot be explained in natural terms is relegated to medieval black cats and all that sort of thing. But I would encourage you to expand your horizons, because you can't really, there's things like this which I'm sure people will recognize you have no explanation, and you don't even seem to acknowledge the evidence that's being presented to you, even though it's scientific studies that I'm showing you. So I'd encourage you to actually acknowledge what we're presenting to you, and then you can provide me an explanation. If your worldview is correct, if your naturalistic worldview is correct, and there isn't any life or consciousness, then there would be a good way to deal with the evidence that I'm presenting without, kind of referring to it as medieval black cats and witchcraft. And this is a recent study done by the State University of New York by a doctor named Sam Parnia. And there's lots of studies like this done by professionals. This is not, and these people aren't Christians. So you have to be acquainted with these facts if you're going to claim that, if you're going to dismiss them just offhand like that, as opposed to just yeah. So I would encourage you to, again, simply research what I'm talking about. There is something called near-death studies, and professionals do study this, and you can look at it for yourself. And unless you can provide an explanation, I thought you were going to at least talk about some sort of chemical hallucination theory that people bring forward when they don't want to acknowledge these things. But just saying that it's magic, or it's fairy tales, or that I believe in fairy tales, I'm actually presenting evidence that I can cite to you. So unless you can kind of show how this evidence is not worthy of being paid attention to, then I'm not sure if you have a case at all. you basically just ignored everything that I've stated. So I would encourage you to look beyond your naturalistic worldview, which obviously can't account for things that are simple facts that are recorded and stated by scientists.
Okay. Well, as I said before, I don't have to. I don't have to give you an explanation as to why, what these things are that people are seeing, are experiencing. I just simply don't accept your what you're advocating, that that there must be some sort of life. It's actually sufficient to say that what these people are experiencing is actually unknown. I'm not a scientist. I can't say, oh, it's because a chemical reaction in their brain is this, that, and the other. I mean, that could be the explanation, certainly. It could be possibly life after death. I don't know, but I just say that it's not your position, which is that it must be. It's. I mean, you said that these people aren't Christians, the people who do these experiments. Well, people who do ghost hunting and things. I mean, I do ghost walks in my village, and people absolutely love it. And we all dress up and we go around our village and we sort of talk about ghosts and stuff. I don't believe any of it. I mean, I don't know whether the people who come along do, but what I mean is that other people, so they do really serious ghost things. They're not religious necessarily either. But do I believe what they're seeing? No, I don't at all. I'm a great believer in coincidence. I'm a great believer in things being misinterpreted. So, well, there's something I've written down here actually. This study that you did, I can't remember what you called it, but you said that it was sort of proof of life after death. Well, I disagree that it's not. You could possibly say that it could prove consciousness after death, but I mean, to say that it's life after death, no, I don't know. Again, I emphasize the word could. There simply is not enough evidence. What I'd really like to see is, well, has anybody actually come back from the dead? I mean, you say that Jesus did. I don't think he did, and a lot of people don't. Anything else, I'm afraid, is the unknown. Human bodies are strange things. So I think I rest my case at that. I'm not convinced, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it was nice to debate with you, Bookman. But in conclusion, all I can say is that evidence has been presented, and this is not. This is academic evidence that people have recorded in studies, that people do have what's called veridical perception while they are clinically dead, and this has been proven. So unless it's there to see in the studies, and this is like I said, 4 to 15% of the population of the world claims to have had a near death experience. Obviously, not everyone who dies and comes back or has been resuscitated has one, but it's there. People die and are still conscious.
Well, it's been a pleasure to meet you for the first time and debate as well. It's not a subject that I'm generally very much up on. I think it's a difficult thing to debate, really, because I think if anybody was to sort of do oh, I'm just going to vote on this, I think it's very much voting from the heart. It's a case of, do I believe it or don't I believe it? It's a difficult one to debate. I merely maintain that I'm not convinced that there must be. I happily concede that there could be, but certainly not that that there must be. So I